Greetings, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce our study that tracks 10-year trends in student research participation, looks at the effects of the pandemic, and also explores socioeconomic disparities in undergraduate research. My name is Igor Chirikov, and I'm a Serial Consortium Director and Senior Researcher based at the Center for Studies in Higher Education at UC Berkeley. And for this study, I collaborated with an amazing group of Berkeley students that participate in Berkeley Data Science Discovery Program. This is one of the major efforts on campus to engage data science undergraduates in research with real-life data. And the topic is a great fit. So we have a group of undergraduate researchers studying undergraduate research participation. So let's first do quick introductions and then jump right into our study. Jasmine?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine. I'm a senior majoring in psychology and cognitive science at UC Berkeley.
Hi, I'm Matilda. I'm a recent grad from Berkeley, majoring in data science.
Hello, I'm Sam. I'm a senior in statistics.
All right, let's start the presentation. Jasmine.
Okay, so I'll be briefly going over the introduction part. So participation in research provides a lot of benefits to undergraduate students. So there are multiple studies showing that participation in research contributes to student learning, development of both academic skills and also soft skills. For example, the ability to make a presentation. Other studies have shown that participation in research contributes to interest in pursuing an academic career. Personally speaking, participating in research of through data science discovery program at UC Berkeley has been a fascinating experience to me, since I get the opportunity to practice my data cleaning and analysis skills and apply them to real life scenarios, such as the topic that we are about to present. Also, my research experience at one of the neuroscience labs on campus shapes my interest in human subject research, and I wish to pursue this field of study in my future career. Undergraduate research takes many forms, including course-based research, independent studies, and theses, fellowships, and assistantships. Some of these are more structured and faculty-driven, while others are more informal and also could be student-driven. Undergraduate research is fairly common at U.S. research universities that invest in their capacity to engage students and advertise research participation as a major advantage of studying at a research-intensive institution. There are, however, documented disparities in undergraduate research engagement across genders, race/ethnicity, and socioeconomic status. Next slide, please. So the COVID-19 pandemic not only disrupted student classes, but also opportunities to participate in research. Undergraduates will offer some alternatives, such as doing literature reviews or participating in virtual lab or at-home demonstration lab activities, but still questionable whether they can fully replace the educational value afforded by in-person undergraduate research experiences in STEM. Next slide, please. So that leads us to our research question. So first, we would like to explore how the level of undergraduate research engagement changed across past 10 years, and in particular, how the COVID-19 pandemic affected the trends of student participation in research. Second, most of the studies that document disparities in undergraduate research only take a snapshot of the data at one point in time, and we would like to explore how persistent are socioeconomic disparities in undergraduate research participation over a 10-year period. Of all various forms of engagement, our study will focus on undergraduate assisting faculty with their research, and we will use survey data collected from 2011 to 2021 at public research universities. So to the best of our knowledge, the current research is one of the first studies to compare pre- and post-pandemic levels of undergraduate research engagement. Next slide, please. And then I will pass it over to Matilda to talk about data and methods.
Thank you, Jasmine. Now I will introduce the data methods we use in this research. Our data comes from the student experience in the Research University Undergraduate Survey, an online census survey administered from 2011 to 2021 at public research-intensive universities in the United States. To be able to look at effects of a pandemic, we only analyzed data from 7 universities that administered the survey in 2021, compared with the data from the same universities in the previous years down to 2011. If the data for a particular campus was not available for that year, we took data from the next or previous year for consistency. We also limit our sample to graduating seniors that were asked if they assisted faculty research at any point of their studies. Our total sample size is over 87,000 students out of 1 million students. Next slide, please. As Jasmine has mentioned, we have two research questions. First, we look at trends over time by looking at the level of participation in research among seniors. Of all forms of research engagement, we only focus on research engagement specifically as a faculty for pay, for credit, or on a volunteer basis. Our second research question is whether socioeconomic status is associated with students' a chance to assist faculty with research. Our independent variable of interest is students' socioeconomic status, and our outcome of interest is a binary variable of whether a student has assisted faculty with research during their studies, which include one or more of the following three measures: with course credit, with pay without course credit, and as a volunteer without course credit. We're also controlling for the effects of ethnicity, major, gender, and campus by adding them as covariates in our proposed model. Next slide, please. Most of the work that led to our analysis was related to preparing data and merging datasets from previous years. We have administrative labels, which are more consistent label names and content across the years, but have changes in choices for questions. We also have non-administrative labels, which are very inconsistent, both in question content and labels. After standardization with regular expression, the green circle on the right becomes the universal name for each label, which makes it really easy to retrieve data. After data cleansing, we merged data across years into a large data frame with over 1 million responses and 300 variables that occur in at least 2 consecutive years. We also generate an extra spreadsheet that keeps track of how questions and responding labels have changed across the years for later reference. For better response checking, we create a unique ID seed so that each row can be tracked to a specific response. After we finish data cleansing, now Sam will introduce how we officially proceed to conduct a logistic regression on our data.
Thanks, Matilda. Before directly introduce the logistic regression data, let's look at some visualization first. So just to recall, our first research question is how the level of engagement in research, undergraduate research changed from 2011 to 2021. This chart shows the overall percentage of seniors that assisted faculty in their research by year. That's what the numbers represent. The tiny orange bars underneath the overall percentages are the error bars. They give you a sense of the variation of the estimates. It's plus or minus 1 standard error. As you can see, the variability is quite small because we have more than 10,000 samples for each year. It's important to mention that the survey question that measures research participation changed slightly in 2016. So the drop between 2015 and 2017 might be due to the small change in the survey itself. However, the drop in 2021 cannot be explained by the change in the measurement because the survey remains consistent from 2016 to 2021. The pandemic might have played a role in explaining the drop. Now, if we look closer and stratify research participation rate by socioeconomic status, so the red line here represents the research participation rate for the upper middle class and wealthy students. The blue line here is for the working class individuals. The green one in the middle is for middle class. The small vertical lines in each point provides the, again, it's the standard error of the estimate. We see that wealthy students are roughly 6 to 7% more likely to report that they have assisted faculty in research in 2011. And this gap has persisted over a decade. Notice the pandemic has widened the gap. If we investigate further and look at the gap within discipline, so the right-hand side here is the research participation rate for STEM majors, science, technology, engineering, and math. And the left-hand side is for non-STEM majors. We see that the gap is much wider in STEM than in non-STEM. In fact, if we look at students with non-STEM majors, the difference is relatively small. Most estimates are overlapping. are or within 1 standard error away from each other. So it seems like STEM research participation rate explain a large portion of the gap in research participation between social class. Now you might ask, is the difference really due to social class, or is it due to factors related to social class, such as race? We know that low-income students are predominantly Black and Hispanic students. So we actually want to isolate the effect of social class by building the model that I will introduce next. It's the same model that Matilda showed you in the previous section. We control for baseline covariates, such as students' race, gender, major, and campus. We use a logistic regression just because the outcome of interest is binary, whether students have assisted faculty in research or not. Here's the result we get. The point estimates here are the regression coefficients for the social class variable in the model. So we built separate models for each year using the same set of covariates, and we extracted the coefficients. The numbers here are the odds ratio. We are using wealthy students as the baseline and comparing them with the working class individuals. A point estimate of 1 means that the two groups have an equal odds in reporting that they have assisted faculty in their research. We see that poor and working class individuals have roughly 21% less probability of reporting that they have assisted faculty in their research in 2011. And this gap has widened to roughly 32% during the pandemic. Now, Igor will give you a quick summary of our findings.
All right, thank you, Sam. So to summarize, the study first shows that the pandemic actually brought down the level of undergraduate research participation to one of the lowest in 10 years of our observation. And this decline in student research participation has not been as widely discussed in the literature and the media compared to declines in student learning in their remote classes, but it's also very important to recognize. And second, we see from the data that there are persistent disparities in undergraduate research across 10 years. And the gap between rich and poor is actually widening during the pandemic. Looks like low-income students are less likely to engage in research, and we can speculate about the reasons, possibly because they need to support their family, look for jobs outside of universities. But this persistent, and widening disparities, they affect, among many other things, affecting student learning. They also affect the pipeline into academic profession, leading to less diversity in graduate schools and also academic departments. And on the practical side, we encourage universities to explore these disparities for undergraduate research, and also introduce additional incentives for low-income and underrepresented minority students to engage in research. Thank you so much for listening. Here's our contact information in case you have any questions, and we're happy to get in touch with you about our study. Thank you so much.